Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 282. Today we are talking all about raising emotionally intelligent kiddos, and we have tons of great, actionable, easy to implement ideas that you can use right now in your home and in your homeschool to help your kids nurture that emotional intelligence and regulation and all of the skills that go along with that so that they can be more resilient kiddos. All right. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to CTC Math, our sponsor. Without them, this podcast would not be possible. So check them out at ctcmath.com. I also want to encourage you, if you haven't joined us already, we are in the middle of a Family Connection Challenge. It is free inside the Learners Lab, whether you are a member or not. All you need to do is go over to the show notes for this episode at raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. Click on the link, join us, pop your email address in, we'll send you all the information, and you can join in a special space inside the lab where you can get daily family connection missions that you and your kiddos can do no matter how old your kids are, and you have access to prizes and downloads and conversations all about deepening your family connection, because that will grow all sorts of skills: emotional intelligence, connection, relationships, resilience, confidence, all the things we want our kids to be growing in so that they can become the best versions of themselves. It'll also give you a little taste of what's happening inside the lab, even if it's only that small space. So check it out, raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast, and I hope to see you in there. It's going on for the rest of this week, and then the replays will be available for a couple weeks longer, so you can download the resources, the games, the activities, and you can watch the replays if you want to. Okay, I hope to see you there. In the meantime, this is going to be a great, very full episode, so pop those earbuds in and let's get on with today's episode. Hey there, welcome back. This is going to be a great episode. I am so glad that you are here. We are talking all about emotional intelligence today. And yes, I've talked about emotional intelligence before, emotional regulation and managing one's emotions on the podcast, on the website, in articles that I've written. There's a new article coming out really soon in Homeschooling Today magazine that I wrote about emotional intelligence. And it's a topic that is themed every month inside the Learners Lab. We discuss and work on another aspect of emotional intelligence with our kids inside the lab every single month. And then parents, we have a conversation about whatever that skill is that month, because it's so important. Too often we think about, as parents, managing our kids' behavior, and we forget about the importance of helping them regulate and manage their emotions and really know what's going on with their own emotions, and understand that while they have emotions and feelings and beliefs and needs, so do everyone else. And those needs of the people around us need to be regulated and met too, and we need to be adaptable towards those. And so we're going to talk about emotional intelligence today. We're going to break it down into some practical things that we can do with our kids, easy peasy right now at home on a daily basis, to help our parenting go a little smoother, which in turn, homeschool parents who are listening, will make our homeschools go a lot smoother. Buckle up. This is going to be a good one. There's lots and lots of stuff that we are going to cover today, especially if you're a parent who is homeschooling a neurodivergent kiddo, navigating a gifted kid, twice exceptional learners, ADHD, anxiety, sensory sensitivities and challenges, or any kind of learning challenge. This episode is going to be especially important for you. It's foundational to everything else in our homeschool. Emotional intelligence allows our kids to be effective learners, thinkers, and friends. They have to know how to recognize, understand, and manage their emotions in order to be great members of the community and the family, the small family community, as well as the greater community outside. So today we're going to explore what emotional intelligence actually is, why it's so important for our neurodivergent kiddos, and most importantly, how you can foster it every single day in your homeschool without adding one more thing to your plate. So let's get into it. Okay, emotional intelligence is also known as EQ. It's a person's ability to recognize, understand, and manage their own emotions, and then also understand and respond to the emotions of others. I like to tell my kids that emotions, feelings are all valid. They're all what they are. We feel what we feel. Our reactions to our emotions, our behaviors in relation to our emotions or other people's is a choice. Now, for some of us, the choice to do the right thing in the moment when emotions are high is harder than it is for others. It doesn't make it less right to do the right thing, the socially acceptable thing in the moment. It does make it a little bit harder though. And so we'll talk about how to help our kids regulate that. But we need to break it down a little bit. Psychologist Daniel Goleman, who's like the father of emotional intelligence, I've written about him in my past book, Resilient Sons, A Boy Mom's Guide to Building Strong, Confident, and Emotionally Intelligent Families. I wrote about some of his research in there. I've written about it on the website, so you can check either of those resources out. I'll have some links to some different articles I've written about emotional intelligence in the show notes for this episode, so you can go check those out. But he breaks it down into 5 key components: self-awareness, knowing what you're feeling and why you're feeling that; self-regulation, managing your emotions appropriately; motivation, using your emotions to reach goals; empathy, understanding how others feel; and social skills, interacting well with others. In the Homeschool Advantage, I talk about how emotional intelligence is one of the most important skills we can nurture in our kids, especially because they're not confined to a traditional school environment. Homeschooling gives us time and space to slow down and really truly help our kids understand what's going on inside themselves. We get to incorporate that into our day-to-day learning, our day-to-day living. We get to connect with our kids at a deeper level. As you're listening to this episode, we are in the middle of a family connection challenge inside the Learners Lab. It's free for people who are not members as well as members. It's open to everybody. And even though this is midweek of the challenge, you are welcome to pop over to the show notes and click on the link to sign up for the challenge and just jump in the middle here while you're listening. It is a daily kind of check-in with motivation and a mission for the day for you and your kids to connect, your kids of all ages, so you can deepen those family connections and relationships. Because when we have a deep, connected family, we are better able to manage our emotions, both as adults and children. And we also know that everybody else in the family has our best interests at heart, and there's always somebody that we can go to. And when we homeschool, we have an even greater ability to do these things too. So I'd encourage you, if you're not a member of the lab and you kind of want to check it out and see some of the stuff that we do in there, this is a good time to jump in, do the free challenge. You won't have access to all the other stuff inside the lab, but you'll have access to the space that has the free challenge. So you'll have daily videos, lives to check in and give you the mission for the day. You can always watch those on replay. There's conversations going on in the lab with ideas about how to connect with your kids. There's also prizes. So it's a great time to jump in and see what's going on. Here's the thing though, emotional intelligence and nurturing that in our kids can be more difficult when our kids are neurodivergent. Emotional intelligence doesn't come easily for all kids. And for neurodivergent kids, there are extra hurdles. Sensory processing challenges, anxiety, ADHD, autism, and asynchronous development can all affect how our kids experience and express emotions. Gifted and twice exceptional kids might feel deeply, but lack the social skills and the tools to express and regulate those feelings. Kids with ADHD might experience emotional dysregulation, intense feelings that seem to come out of nowhere and take a while to settle. Executive function delays, which is super common with neurodivergent kids, particularly those who have ADHD, are autistic, or are gifted or twice exceptional. These delays make it harder for kids to pause, to reflect, and to respond thoroughly and thoughtfully to emotional challenges and triggers. So if your kiddo struggles with meltdowns, shutdowns, impulsivity, or social misunderstandings of any kind, you're not alone. And you're not doing anything wrong. I think it's so common for us as parents to blame ourselves for things and to just immediately jump to the idea that we're doing everything wrong and we're ruining our children. The truth of the matter is, kids are people. Kids are not robots that come out a certain way and can be programmed to do a certain thing. There are all sorts of environmental, neurological, biological, cognitive things that impact how our families interact, how our kids interact to the world on a day-to-day basis. And so we can't control all of the variables that come into parenting and homeschooling. So we need to be flexible. We need to give ourselves grace. We need to give our kids grace. And we need to understand that all of these tools that we're going to be learning and all of the learning about how to regulate our emotions, it's a work in progress. It's not going to be perfect. And it's going to be one of those things that we make progress on and then we step back or lose progress. And then we make progress again. And then we step back and we lose progress. And so it's important for us to remember that as we go along. What's beautiful about homeschooling is that you're in the perfect position to support your kiddo and their emotional intelligence and growth at their own pace and in the context of a super loving relationship. You have the ability to work with them all throughout the day and as they need it. So it's amazing that you have that opportunity. And because of that, because you have the ability to deepen the time that you spend on working on emotional regulation, you are able to enhance communication within your family and with your kids, with others. You can help your kids improve relationships with others, and it sets the stage and the foundation for critical thinking skills. Okay, so let's talk practicality. How do we do this? How do we implement this in our own home? Building emotional intelligence into our day-to-day living, our day-to-day lives, our day-to-day homeschooling and parenting can feel overwhelming, and it can feel like, oh my gosh, there's just another thing I have to do, and I don't want to do another thing. I've got so much on my plate already. I want to walk through a couple simple strategies that you can start implementing now that can set that foundation in place and help you grow leaps and bounds in the future. So here are a couple easy things you can do with your kids right now. You can start implementing these one at a time. Just choose one. You don't have to do everything. But one of those ideas is a daily emotional check-in. You can start your day, whether it's your homeschooling day or just your day at breakfast, by asking your kiddo, how are you feeling right now? You can use a feelings chart if you want to, or a mood tracker. You could have a journal that has mood trackers and feelings trackers in it, if that helps. If your kiddo needs a visual reminder, we've talked about this before on the podcast, you can create a visual reminder. I've had people who have created like a stoplight with red, yellow, and green, and having the kids point out like where they feel in there. My daughter's occupational therapist years ago would ask her how she was feeling, and if she was struggling, is it like a stubbed toe kind of problem or like my house burnt down kind of problem? Is it something that's going to inconvenience you for a little bit and then the pain's going to go away? Or is it something that you're going to need to be regrouping from for a long time? And she was able to put things into perspective in that way for her. Giving kids the words for their feelings and the ability and the time and the space to express those feelings is really powerful and can normalize talking about feelings for you and your kids as a family. Okay, another strategy that you can use, simple strategy for developing EQ in your home, is the name it to tame it strategy. When your child is upset, help them label their emotions. So you're not going to be able necessarily to solve the problem immediately, because a lot of times when our bodies are in fight, flight, freeze, we're not going to be able to listen. We're not going to be able to calm ourselves. We're not going to be able to regulate our emotions, but we can help our kids name it. So when they start to come down from it, they understand what they're feeling and how they're feeling it. So you could say something like, wow, you're feeling frustrated right now. It's annoying and frustrating when a project you're working on doesn't turn out the way you expected. So I feel your frustration just emanating off of you. Maybe you can take a break for right now, and then I can help you rebuild it later when you're calmer. Helping them understand what they're feeling, acknowledging it and validating it, and then giving them an alternative might not help in the exact moment, but they'll remember it later. And the more they hear those kinds of things, the better able they are to regulate their emotions later and name their own emotions. You could say things like, wow, you seem really angry right now. I can totally understand that. Things didn't go the way that you wanted them to. I can't talk to you right now because you're so angry. You are just yelling back at me. So I will come back when you're calmer, or you can come find me. I'm going to go fold some laundry right now. When you're feeling a little calmer, your anger has dissipated a little bit, come find me and we will talk about that. Naming feelings actually helps to reduce the intensity of them and then gives you the opportunity and the opening to start talking about it. Another thing that you can remember and you can use as a strategy is the idea that academics can wait. If your kiddo is in emotional distress or having trouble regulating their emotions, it's okay to pause whatever it is you're doing. In the Homeschool Advantage, I write about how connection needs to come before correction, and it's so true. If you could just remember that as like a mantra, connection before correction, it's going to serve you in so many ways. Yes, we need to help our kids be better versions of themselves. We want our kids to grow to be the best versions of themselves possible, but we can't do that when they're in the middle of a mess, emotional or otherwise. And so we want to make sure that we're connecting with them and helping them understand what they're feeling and that we're there for them so that we can help them steer their course differently the next time something comes up like that. So it's okay to pause the math lesson, to take a break, to go for a walk, to do something else and come back to the academics. Here's the thing. Academics can always be made up. I know that's scary, and we've had situations in our own homeschool where I wish in retrospect I had stuck to some academics for a little bit longer because the catch up was a little bit difficult, but the bottom line was we still were able to catch up. Yeah, we had to cram a whole bunch in, or we had to do extra lessons over the summer, but we were still able to catch up and our relationships are strong. I have really good relationships with my kids, and it's because I take the time to cultivate that connection over the correction. I still correct them. I still guide them. I still regulate them. I'm in the midst of locking up keyboards and mouses, computer mice at night, so that kids can't go straight on the computer without permission, because we've gotten to a point where it's hard for them to regulate the amount of time they spend on screens. And at some point, we'll have them open again. But we still have correction in our home, but connection comes first. And it's important for us to remember that academics can always wait. Connection never can. It's always easier to make up a school subject than it is to fix a broken relationship. So I really want you to remember that, connection over correction. Another thing that we can do with our kiddos is we could read and discuss stories together. Books are amazing. They are such great tools for developing empathy. You can pause during read alouds and ask, what would you have done in this situation? Or what do you think this character is feeling? How would you feel if this character did that to you or said that to you? Have you ever felt like that? These are really great open-ended discussion questions that you can ask your kids about any book, and it can help normalize those conversations for later, and your kids will be more apt to come to you when they want to discuss different things or when they're struggling with an emotion. I've talked about this before with all sorts of different reasons, anxiety and ADHD and impulsivity and emotional regulation, but it's a standard for a reason. It works, and it's a good thing to have in your home if you have kids who are neurodivergent. You can create a calm down space in your home. You can do whatever it is you need. You can have a plan with your kids that starts like, when I feel overwhelmed, I can. What can they do? Can they go draw? Can they go up to their room? Can they go for a walk? One of my kids likes to go out in the backyard and swing. One of my kids likes to decompress by playing video games. One of my kids likes to read. Everybody's got a different coping mechanism, but you could also have a space, a nice, calm, cushy area with like lots of throw pillows or a crash pad, a little tent with twinkle lights. I have a nice calm down space in my office. It's an old chair. I've had the chair for about 20 years. It's so beaten up. It's now covered in a shag throw blanket, but it's in the corner of my office next to a wall that is covered in twinkle lights and little LED twinkle lights. And I turn off my light in my office and I pop in an audiobook in my earbuds and I sit in that chair and I just like tune out. Having a calm down corner, a calm down space, or a calm down plan is gold for all of our kids and for ourselves. And by using that calm down space ourselves, we can easily incorporate the last strategy that I have for you today, which is modeling it for yourself. If you snap at your kids, because, hey, we all do it. Take a moment to say, I'm so sorry. I was feeling really stressed out and I didn't handle that the way that I wanted to. I'm really sorry. Will you please forgive me? You're showing your kids how emotional intelligence works in real life. I had a situation today, which is a great example of this apologizing, modeling the behavior you want to see in your kids. I dropped my daughter off at the nature center where she is working this summer. She has a part-time job there. Actually, it's almost like full-time hours. And she knew that the day camp that she was helping with today was going to be doing some creek walking. And so she packed a pair of extra socks in her backpack and was going to grab her rain boots on the way out so that she could wear her rain boots and then she could change back into her hiking boots and the fresh pair of socks after they got out of the stream. And we got to the parking lot, and it's a half an hour away, and realized that while she had the socks, she had forgotten to grab the boots in the garage on our way out the door. So I said, do you want me to run your boots up to you? And she's, I don't think you have to. And then she thought about it for a minute and she's, but if you could, I would feel more comfortable having them. And I'm like, okay, I'll run them up to you. Or I'll have your brother run them up to you. Somebody will run them up to you. And then I sat in the parking lot. I answered a couple emails when she went in because there were a couple pressing things I needed to get to before I headed back home. Got home. My other daughter needed to be somewhere. She had a friend sleep over last night who also needed to be there with her. They weren't up yet. So I got them up, started breakfast for them, got my oldest going and my youngest going, encouraged him to have some fruit with the frozen waffles that he'd eaten, and then started doing all the other things that I needed to do. And I realized over an hour had gone by and the day camp was about to start and her work is a half an hour away. So I texted her, I completely forgot about your boots. I can send somebody up right now. They'll be there in about a half an hour. Did you still want them? I'm so sorry that I forgot. I just got caught up with breakfast and other chores when I got home. And she texted right back. She said, no, I think I'll be fine. They've got an extra pair of waders that I can borrow here at the nature center. It'll be fine. And so I said, okay, I'm glad that you got it worked out. I'm sorry that I forgot to do what I told you that I would do. And she wrote back, it's no problem. We all forget. So she was modeling back at me the things that I say. They apologize when they forget, and I say, it's no problem. We all forget sometimes. We'll try to do better next time, and I'll help you remember. And she did the same thing back to me. Modeling the behaviors we want our kids to have as they mature is a gift that we can give them. Modeling the I'm sorry is amazing because you don't want your kids to grow up to be adults who can't apologize when they make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all yell when we don't want to yell. We all react when we didn't want to react. And if we can say, I'm so sorry, I did not handle that the way that I expected to or wanted to, will you please forgive me? Our kids are not only going to forgive us, but they're going to see that adults, especially the adults that they love, make mistakes too. Hey there. Okay, you've heard me talk about CTC Math for a long time. And I've been sharing testimonials from other people about it, but I want to share my own right now because it's been a while since I've talked about how we're using CTC Math. CTC is an amazing sponsor. They support our work here at the podcast. They actually sponsor a lot of different homeschool businesses and magazines and events because they're so committed to making sure that the homeschool resources you have at your fingertips are available to you, that you have access to what you need when you need it. I love CTC Math for that part of who they are, but I also love CTC Math as a customer. I have been a paying customer for years and years. My kids are using it in very different ways, and this is what I want to talk about. I've talked before about its adaptability, but let's talk about this. I'm 16 years into homeschooling. This is my 16th year, and our kids are using it very differently. I've got one kiddo who's very advanced in math. That kiddo is a grade level and a half ahead, and I have their level set to mastery at 90%, meaning they have to get 90% or above to move on to the next set of math problems because that child doesn't have to speed through it. They're already a year and a half ahead. And so I want them, if they're going to continue to accelerate, I want them to accelerate with deep understanding. My other kiddo who's currently using it is right on grade level, maybe a couple lessons behind. And so that kiddo's mastery is set at 80% because I don't need that kiddo to understand every single section and get every single problem right. I need that kiddo to understand the big picture of the concepts, get at least a B's level of work done so that they can move on to the next level, because that particular kiddo is probably not going into a mathy career, but they need the basic understanding. CTC allows the flexibility to do that. If you've got a kiddo, say in late elementary school, who is absolutely brilliant in math and can skip ahead to some high school level math, your subscription includes all the way up to calculus. You don't have to wait. You don't have to buy multiple levels of programs. If you've got a kiddo who you hit a snag and you realize, oh my gosh, we missed that section when we were learning third grade math and now we've got to go back to do it. You don't have to go out and buy a third grade math workbook. You just go to the section in the third grade math program level and have your kiddo do that. How flexible is that? You have every level from kindergarten all the way to calculus at your fingertips for a very affordable price. Check out ctcmath.com. If you go over to the show notes and you click on the link, it will give you whatever the current discount or special they're offering Raising Lifelong Learners listeners, and you can check that out and take advantage of that. I so appreciate CTC. I know you're going to love it. And if you don't, they have a money-back guarantee. So you really do have nothing to lose. If you have any questions about CTC, you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to answer those questions. All right, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so just to recap, some strategies that you can use in your home and homeschool that you can implement immediately. You can do daily emotional check-ins. You can name it to tame it. You can let the academics wait a little bit and take time to connect first. You can read and discuss stories together. You can create calm down plans, a calm down space, and you can model those behaviors for your kids, the behaviors you want them to be able to handle and do in the situations that they are in whenever they're in them. Inside the Learners Lab this month, like I said, we're focusing on family connection, but we have a whole space that is related to emotional intelligence and challenges that families can do for the entire month based on a theme. Over the last couple of months, we've been reimagining them and creating them into a really easy to use, functional set of ideas that families can implement immediately, as well as know what the skills are and why they're important and what the long-term benefits are of them, so that, number one, they're easier to use in the archives. If you join in the membership, you get access to all of the past archived lessons, recordings, videos, masterclasses, activities, everything. But also so that we can take some of them out and offer them on the website for people to purchase just individual themes if there's a skill, a social and emotional skill that you and your family need to work on. And we've reimagined them and pulled them together in a way that's really easy to use for families, whether they're in the lab or not. And they're called Feelings in Focus. They're all about just simple activities that you can use with your family. This month, we're all about family connections. But over the next couple months, we're going to be diving into the themes of making decisions. So working really closely on those executive function skills and how they interact with our emotional intelligence. We're going to be talking about new beginnings during the month of September. For some of you who have older kids, maybe they're going off to college for the first time, or they're starting high school or middle school. It's the beginning of the school year. So there's lots and lots of new beginnings and different things that our kids are being exposed to. My kids are going to be starting a new co-op. So that's a brand new beginning with new friends. And then the next month, we're going to be talking about respect, how to have it for others, and how to expect it for ourselves and be worthy of it. We'll be talking in November about being unique, really owning our own uniqueness and who we are and who we're meant to be. And then in December, we're going to be talking about staying safe, both in person and online, and just as human beings. And so our Feelings in Focus activities and lessons and the live class that we do will all be focused on that. And so if any of those topics are things that your family needs to work on, it's a great time to jump in and join us, so you're set up, you understand what's going on in the lab, and you can jump in and join us right away. So I would encourage you to check that out. And then over the next couple of months, we'll have some of those Feelings in Focus units available in the shop. If you just want to try one or two out, you can check out a recording as well as the activities that go along with it. Emotional intelligence and cultivating it in our kids is really important because it sets them up for so much success. Like I said, enhances their communication abilities, builds their relationships with others, sets them up for really great critical thinking skills. I have an example in the Homeschool Advantage of one of my kids used to really struggle with frustration and perfectionism. If a project wasn't going right, they would crumple it up, throw it away, get frustrated, cry, stomp off, and decide not to do that activity anymore. We started doing emotional check-ins before and during activities and keep feeling it. We had that thermometer posted that the occupational therapist suggested. And I taught that child a few calming strategies that we practiced before they got overwhelmed. Deep breathing, fidgeting, squeezing sensory input. Eventually that kiddo learned how to say, expressing their feelings. I'm frustrated. I need a little break right now. I want to come back to it later. It took months and months, and we've had some setbacks over the years, but it works. We build on this kind of learning all the time in our family, in the learner's lab, in our greater community, helping our kids grow their emotional intelligence through challenges, prompts, community support within the family, those conversations and connections, normalizing the talk about emotions, validating our kids' feelings and emotions. Here's the thing. Your homeschool doesn't need to look like anyone else's. Your goal needs to be to build the foundation for lifelong resilience and relationship skills that your kids need in the way that best suits them. I want you to remember that. I want you to think about all the different things that you can implement simply that aren't going to add to your plate. They're just going to enhance your plate. None of the things that we talked about today, modeling it, incorporating feelings check-ins, all of those different things, none of it takes much time, and it doesn't add another subject to your day. They're just simple check-ins that you can do, simple things you can do as a normal part of your everyday. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I wish I'd started this sooner, or oh my gosh, it's too late. My kid already melts down all the time. I can't do anything about this. Please hear me when I say you're doing the right thing. You're showing up. You're showing love. You're showing intention. That's what matters most. You're listening to parenting podcasts. You're reading books about parenting. You're learning more about homeschooling and all the different things that you need to do in order to support your kids. That's amazing work. You're doing the work to build yourself up to a better support system for your kids so they have the best life that they're meant to have and they become the best versions of themselves. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to keep showing up. Emotional intelligence takes time, but every moment that you choose connection over correction is a seed planted. We are releasing a brand new journal in the shop over at learn.raisinglifelonglearners.com, and you can just go to raisinglifelonglearners.com and click on the shop tab, but I'll also link it in the show notes. It's a journal called Big Feelings, Big Dreams, a journal for feelings, ideas, and wild possibilities. It's all about regulation, feeling the big feelings that you feel, feeling the dreams, thinking about the dreams, living in them, managing your emotions, regulating your emotions. And it's fun, easy to implement for kids of all ages. You can get it right now as a digital download, and you can print as many copies as you need, or you can print it and have it brought to Staples or something and bound. Within the next month or so, we'll also have it available as a printable, or within the next month or so, we'll also have it available as a printed book that you can order a hard copy of. Right now, it's just a digital book that you can print off on your own. But our hope is to have it within the next couple of weeks available as a physical book as well. I love it. I'm super excited about it. It's one of my favorite journals that I've ever created. And I think it'll help a lot of families have an easy to start point for just thinking through things and thinking through feelings and emotions. It's a great workbook for kids of all ages who need the help with regulation of their emotions. So check it out. It'll be linked in the show notes, and I would encourage you to just give it a try. If you have any questions, you can reach out at support@raisinglifelonglearners.com, or there's a link to a voicemail and an email in the show notes. I appreciate you spending time thinking about this. Here's the thing. Growing emotional intelligence, just like growing our intelligence, takes time, takes effort, has setbacks, has jump aheads. It's all about showing up every day, being there for your kids, supporting them in the way that you know they need supported. Because remember, you know your kids better than anybody. You're the best parent for your child. Therefore, you're the best teacher for your child. You can do this. You are an amazing parent. Trust yourself. Trust that kiddo is perfect for you and you're perfect for them. You've got this. I promise you. Reach out if you have any questions. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode, what you're going to try right now. Drop me a line, hit reply in an email, send me a voicemail message. Let me know what you're going to try next with your kids. Also, let me know if you have any questions about the journal, about the Learner's Lab, about CTC Math, or any of the resources that we talked about today. And if there is an idea that you have for a topic for the podcast or a guest to have on the podcast, let me know that too. I would love to know that so I can reach out and set up the next season of the podcast with you in mind. Have a great day. I appreciate you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.